Okay, Susannah here from the Good Property Company. I haven't got my bike because I've been running around New York, Central Park, and I am slightly red-faced, so forgive me and forgive my look and my shaky camera skills. Arthur wanted me to do a bunch of videos while I'm on holiday in New York. I'm actually meeting up with my son later and we're going to go jet skiing around the Statue of Liberty, so expect a dunking in the Hudson. He wanted me to do a bunch of videos about some of the key questions that people ask us. So I've done a very red-faced one about how to start, and now I want to look at a very simple one around buy to sell explained. So, buy to sell explained, with all the noise of New York City, even though the cars are banned from Central Park until whenever time, is quite simple. They're really, in my view, there's kind of two very simple strategies in property. One is buy to sell, the other one is buy to keep. Now, you can do a sourcing strategy as well, and actually that's what we did. We did a sourcing strategy for us to work with investors. We did it for 6 years. We actually shut our investor group last year, so we're just working out the final year of our investors. Then we're only going to work with our favourite kind of 5 or 10, and that allowed us to really hone our skills in sourcing and get a lot of experience, which is really great for the business, whilst making additional cash selling on deals to other people who have done extremely well out of us. We've done over 200 deals so far. But basically you've got buy to sell and buy to keep. So buy to sell, here's your simple rules. I want you to have a 20% mark up. So if I'd take the classic 100,000, just keep life and my maths and your maths easy, and I'm so sorry about the red face. I have just done 1 hour and 1 second around Central Park. If, let's say, you buy it for 80,000, you spend 5 grand on the buying costs, the legal costs, the you know, say, I don't know, you're doing any kind of financing, so some of the financing costs, and say you spend 15 grand on renovation, that all adds up to £100,000. So for all the costs, so your renovation costs, your window cleaning guy, your cleaners, your guys that are going to take all the stuff into the house and do the kit up from IKEA. I actually don't include the furniture costs because you're going to move that on to other projects. But all the costs that you can't take with you to buy the house, to renovate the house, and to get the house ready for sale and to sell the house again. So for example, your estate agency costs, if that all costs 100 grand, I'll let my friend with the can you see go past because it's a bit noisy, then I want you to be absolutely sure you can sell this bad boy for 120, which is a 20% markup. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is I want you to have a safety net. And if you have a safety net and it doesn't sell for 120, then you've got two options, haven't you? You can make slightly less money, which, okay, is annoying, but you know, you're still making really good money. Or the other one is you can actually refinance it and pull almost all your money back out to rent it out, and of course any profit you make finalises the last bit of money you've left in, so you've got fantastic return on capital employed. And you've got plan B, which is a buy to let. So number one rule is 20% markup, and I don't want you to do it unless you've got a 20% markup. Number two rule is I want you to have a plan A and a plan B. So we know we're heading for a buy to sell strategy, absolutely rock on. But I tell you what, the number of buy to sell projects that I've ended up going, oh, I fancy keeping this one. And occasionally I've had ones that haven't sold and then I've had to keep them. So Claremont Road, bought it for 150, was on the market for 200, it didn't sell, kept it. At the time it really hit my cash flow. Oh my God, I'm so glad I kept it. It's now worth 250. And that was only a few years ago. So it's gone up by 100 grand before refurb. So number two rule is you've got to have plan A, which is I'm going to sell it with a 20% markup and I'm going to keep it, and I need that yield to be really strong. So what is yield? Yield is, well, everybody does yield differently, but this is how I do yield. Yield is a way that you can compare different properties and different costs of properties in the same equation. So it's kind of being able to compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges, and not apples with oranges. So the way I do yield is the simplest way. Treat Susie like she's stupid, tends to work. Basically, I want you to do annual rent divided by purchase price. Now, some people do annual rent divided by purchase price plus refurb cost or all costs. You can do that too, but me, I just do annual rent divided by purchase price, and I want you to have a yield of 10% and above. So if you've got a fantastic property that's going to be a great buy to sell, but your yield is 3%, you don't have a plan B. And of course, property is so full of slips and bumps and trips and, you know, speed bumps, that sod's law is going to be the property that won't sell, but you haven't got a plan B, which is a bit of a worry. So I want you to have a plan A, which is I'm going to sell it for 20% mark up, and a plan B, which is if it doesn't sell, I'll put it and rent it out, and I can get, you know, aiming for, and really ideally you want 10% yield and above. So if it doesn't have a yield of 10%, you know, particularly if you're one of the higher areas like London, well, what are you going to do about it? I don't want you to sit there and go, well, it's dead dark. No, I want you to shake that problem out and try and figure out how you can get a yield of 10%. So some of the classics are obviously HMO and shared houses. So can it be moved from a single let to an HMO proposition? You need to check your housing, all the rules. If it's a leasehold, just check, and of course check on the restrictions for planning, whether you've got Article 4. Or can you look at serviced apartments? Now, serviced apartments are the sexy thing at the moment, and I've done them and they are fantastic for cash flow, but be aware, laundry and managing cleaners will become your day job. So figure out option number 1, 2 and 3 for when the cleaner doesn't turn up and you've got a big party turn up in 4 hours, or when the laundry people don't turn up to pick things up. So just make sure you've got enough people to help service those serviced apartments. So don't always chuck out a project straight away because you can't get yield. Sit there and shake it out, you know, really work at it, like sieve away at it until you get 10% yield. And then the third thing in buy to sell is that preconception that you've got to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. Yeah, property's risky, and obviously buying property is expensive. You're going to have to spend some money, but we have done buy to sell where we've done almost no refurb at all. And it's because we've been really good at the sourcing. You know, we've done buy to sell where we spent £2,000 renovating a property. You don't always need to spend like 40 grand and be massively cash flow indebted. So don't always go into your estate agents and ask them for a big renovation project, because all that's going to happen is, you know, I don't mean sucker, but you know, sucker, you're just putting another 60 grand stuck in. So your cash flow is going to be like wee up and down like a roller coaster. You can judiciously source like good little flats and spend £2,000 and put it back on the market, style it up beautifully. And that comes on to point number 4, is styling. Fellas, nobody bought a sexy shed. Nobody admired a dovetail joint and spent over the odds. Whereas if you go to the Great British retail high street, nobody's selling anything in cardboard boxes. Every single shop does lifestyle positioning and styling. And that's probably, just saying, because it works. So I would absolutely suggest you want to be styling that up to suggest a lifestyle that your customers are looking to buy into. And yeah, I mean, we spend about, I'm just going to chill out, we spend about, look, see, construction, can't get away from property development, we spend about £3,000 on our styling kit. We generally tend to get stuff from some of the more kind of low-level high streets, but we choose very carefully. So Asda, Tesco, IKEA, B&Q, The Range, you know, places like that. It's not super expensive, but we don't leave that kit in the house. We leave it in until just before exchange, and then we move it from property to property to property. And one styling kit normally goes in and out of 5 buy to sells before we then keep it into a buy to let, which of course is where all your profits go. Your money comes in from a buy to sell, whoom, straight back out into an asset you're going to keep for the rest of your life, because well, it's the way to go, isn't it? And then the last thing is, let me just give you a little tip on how to save roughly £1,000 per buy to sell, which I think is useful. Do not write the words "with white goods." I mean, roughly, washing machines and fridge freezers and all the rest of it can be, you know, between 200 and anything up to 300 quid. So with white goods can save you anything up to £1,000. Just simply, you know, put the white goods in, the dishwasher, the washing machine, the tumble dryer, you know, the fridge freezer, but simply do not sell them as part of the sale, and then bump them from property to property to property. So my white goods get bumped for 5 properties before they go into an HMO to keep, which earns me money for the rest of its days until eventually they get dumped, because they get, unfortunately, they an awful lot of washing machines, you know, so I expect to turn them every few years. So I hope that's been useful. I want you to do buy to sell in terms of buying discounted. I want you to do a 20% margin. Markup, sorry. So if all the costs are 100 grand, you've got to be damn sure you can sell it for 120. I want you to have a plan B always, because you just never know what's going to happen in property. And the one you think you're sure to sell, of course, is the one that won't sell. So plan B is, I want a 20% yield. I've forgotten my list of things. I want you to be able to do a posing kit. Roughly it costs us about £3 to do posing kits. I want you to not write the words with white goods, because you're going to just cost yourself money. And why are you going to give away with washing machines? And you know, you're not some game show. You don't need to be like, free washing machine. Don't give that away. Keep that and bump it into the next house. And there was one more point which, after having run an hour around Central Park, I've forgotten, so you'll have to fill me in. Anyway, I hope that's useful for a very simple buy to sell. Source well, make sure that you know your end price before you even buy the thing, 20% markup, pose it up. Oh yes, that's right, you do not always need to spend a lot of money in refurbs, so don't guide your estate agent to, I want to buy the renovation projects, because that's going to kill your cash flow. Early on, you want to buy a few flats and spend £2 on the renovation, make them look beautiful, tidy them up and put them back out again. And really you're making the money because you're so good at sourcing, not because you're so good at renovating. And then pose them up and don't sell them with white goods. So hopefully that's 5 good tips for you guys to kick off on buy to sell. Oh, and finally, how do you finance buy to sell? Well, different ways, obviously. You can JV and do buy to sell with JV partners. Obviously, make sure you're compliant with 13.3 and take legal advice on it, because I can't give you advice on that. You can do it cash if you're lucky enough to have the cash. And generally, people do it with bridging. Don't do it with mortgages, because frankly, mortgages are not the right product. Mortgage till death. And buy to sell is fairly fast transaction. So look at bridging and don't be worried about bridging. Obviously take the advice of a good financial advisor, but bridging is kind of the product if you don't have all the money, which will give you a better return on capital employed. Right, gonna love and leave you. I'm off to jet skiing around Statue of Liberty this afternoon. Take care, bye.